She said it was temporary. Just a few nights at my place until things settled down. I believed her. I let her in. And slowly, without even realizing it, I started losing pieces of myself. First it was the late nights, then the guy she called just a friend, then the laughter I heard through the walls that wasn't meant for me. I became the background character in my own home, while they made memories in the front room like I didn't exist. I tried to speak up. She made me feel crazy. I stayed quiet. She called me weak. And when I finally opened the door to see the truth for myself, I didn't yell. I didn't fight. I just walked. What came after that changed everything. The lies went public. So did she. And for the first time, I realized some people won't just break your heart. They'll turn the damage into content. This is how I found the strength to walk away and never look back. When she first asked to stay at my place, I didn't even hesitate. She'd just gotten into an argument with her roommate, something about rent, boundaries, the usual chaos, and she needed a place to crash just for a few nights. That's how she phrased it. Casual, temporary, no big deal. And honestly, I was kind of flattered. We weren't living together officially, but we'd been dating for almost a year, so it made sense, right? I thought it was the natural next step, even if it was unplanned, even if it wasn't exactly romantic. It felt like something real that she moved in with just a duffel bag and a laptop. Said she didn't want to be a burden. I told her she wasn't. I told her I liked having her around. She laughed, kissed my cheek, and said, "Well, don't regret it at the time." I thought she was being playful. I didn't realize it was a warning. The first few days were actually kind of nice. She cooked breakfast once or twice, cleaned up without being asked. We binged shows in bed, stayed up late, talking about everything and nothing. And for a moment, I thought maybe this is it. Maybe we've reached that stage where we start blending lives, sharing space, planning a future. But then, little things started changing. Her friends started coming over more often. At first it was just one or two girls I'd met before. No big deal. But then came him. His name was Brandon. I remember because she said it so casually the first time. "Brandon's gonna swing by later." I told him he could crash on the couch tonight. He's going through a lot. And I remember just freezing. Not because I didn't trust her, but because she never mentioned to Brandon before. And she was already letting him sleep in our living room like it was her place too. I asked Brandon who. She rolled her eyes. "He's just a friend. Chill. You're not seriously getting weird about this, are you?" That was the moment I felt the first crack in the floor beneath me. But I didn't want to seem jealous or insecure. So I nodded, said sure, let it go. That night I barely slept. I could hear them laughing from the living room, talking at the point I walked out to grab water and saw them sitting on the couch together, closer than I was comfortable with. He was shirtless. She was wrapped in my hoodie. They both looked up like I'd interrupted something. I didn't say a word. Just grabbed my glass, went back to the bedroom and stared at the ceiling until morning the next day. I brought it up gently. "I don't mind your friends coming over," I said. "But maybe next time just give me a little heads up, especially if it's a guy staying the night." She scoffed. "You're acting like I cheated on you or something." And the way she said it, like I was the problem, made my chest tighten. Tried to keep it calm. "I just didn't expect to come out and see some guy half naked on my couch." She laughed. "Oh my God, it's not that serious. He's literally going through a breakup. What do you think we're doing out there? Hooking up under your throw blanket?" I didn't respond, because I didn't know what to say. She was deflecting, making me feel crazy. And I hated how well it worked. That weekend, Brandon came over again. And again after that. He started showing up without even asking. Like my apartment had become their hangout spot. I'd walk in from work and they'd be on the couch eating my snacks, watching stuff I didn't recognize, barely looking up when I said hi. And the worst part, she started acting like I was the guest, like I was the one interrupting something. She stopped sleeping in the bedroom every night. Said she fell asleep on the couch. Started making these passive comments like, "You're always so tense lately," or "Don't be so boring." It felt like I was being replaced. Slowly, one evening I overheard her on the phone with one of her friends. She didn't know I was in the kitchen. She said, "Yeah, he's just letting me crash. It's not that deep. I don't owe him anything." And that's when it hit me. I wasn't her partner anymore. I was a placeholder, a free bed, a convenience. And the guy in my living room, he wasn't just a friend. He was the next chapter. I was just the page she hadn't turned yet, but she would dot soon. There's a moment when it hits you, not all at once, but slowly, that you're no longer respected in your own space. That you've gone from being the man of the house to the punchline of someone else's private joke. I didn't want to believe it at first. I kept trying to convince myself I was overthinking things, that maybe I was too sensitive, that maybe Brandon really was just going through a rough patch and she was just trying to be a good friend. But deep down, something didn't feel right. And the longer I ignored it, the more obvious it became. One night I came home late from work. I was exhausted. Long day, back-to-back clients, traffic was brutal. I walked in hoping for a little peace. Instead, I opened the door to loud music, empty takeout containers, and them dancing in the living room. Just the two of them. No other friends, just them, laughing like it was their place, like I was the one intruding. She saw me, smiled and said, "Babe, you're back." You should have seen his moves. He's hilarious. I forced a smile. Yeah, looks like a party. Brandon raised his drink and nodded like I was some distant roommate who owed him rent. And then he had the audacity to say, "Yo man, your couch comfiest thing I've ever slept on. You've got good taste." That was the moment. That's when I felt it. Like I didn't belong there anymore. Like I was being tolerated in my own home. Later that night, I pulled her aside quietly. I didn't want to embarrass her or create drama. I said, "Look, I'm not trying to be controlling, but it's starting to feel like I'm not even part of this anymore. Like you two are living here and I'm just passing through." She rolled her eyes and said, "Don't be dramatic. You're jealous of a guy who literally cries about his ex at least once a day." I said, "It's not about him crying. It's about how you act when he's around, how different you are. How I walk in and I'm the third wheel." She laughed. I actually laughed. "Oh my God," she said. "You're acting like one of those insecure dudes from Reddit. Do you want me to list every reason I'm not into Brandon? Or should we just call it a night?" And in that moment I realized she wasn't trying to understand me, she was mocking me, turning my feelings into a punchline. And suddenly, I started noticing all the little ways she did it before, joking about how I wasn't that fun, calling me too emotional when I tried to be honest, laughing with her friends about how I fold my laundry too neatly. It wasn't just Brandon, this was who she'd become around me. Or maybe this is who she always wasn't, I just didn't see it because I was too busy loving her to notice how little of it was being returned. One weekend, I came back from running errands and overheard them talking from the hallway before I opened the door. My name came up. She was laughing. I don't remember the exact words, but it was something like, "He's sweet, but sometimes I feel like I'm babysitting. He's just so predictable." And Brandon replied, "Well, at least he keeps the lights on." They both laughed. I stood there with my keys in my hand, heart racing, trying to decide if I should walk in or just keep walking. I walked in. She looked surprised for a second, then covered it up with another fake smile. "Hey, you're back. We were just talking about dinner." I nodded, said nothing, went to the bedroom and closed the door. And that night, as I lay there staring at the ceiling, I realized I had become something I never thought I'd be. The guy who gives everything and gets laughed at behind his back. I wasn't her partner anymore. I was her shelter, her backup plan, her safety net while she entertained someone else in the front room. And the worst part, she didn't even try to hide it anymore. That was the moment I knew something had to change, that I couldn't keep sitting in the middle of a life where I was no longer seen, no longer valued, no longer loved, because once you become the joke in your own home, there's only one thing left to do, and I was almost ready to do it. It happened on a Thursday. Not that the day of the week really matters, but I remember it because it was one of those moments that just brands itself into your memory. Like your brain knows you'll be replaying it forever. She'd been distant, all week more than usual, staying out late, claiming she was working with a friend on a freelance thing. No real details, just vague explanations and a smile that didn't quite meet her eyes. By this point I had stopped asking. I already knew I wasn't going to get the truth, and to be honest I wasn't sure I wanted to hear it from her anymore. That night I came home earlier than planned. I had told her I'd be working late, but the meeting got cancelled. I didn't text her. I figured I'd surprise her. Maybe, deep down I hoped she'd be surprised in a good way. Maybe I still wanted to believe there was something worth saving between us. I walked in and the lights were low, music playing, not loud, just enough to feel like something was happening. Shoes by the door. Not mine, not hers either. I knew whose they were. I moved quietly, almost like I was trying not to wake up a dream I didn't want to be real. And as I got closer to the living room, I heard voices, hers and his. She was laughing, that soft, playful laugh she used to save for me. The one she used when she felt safe, when she felt close. And he was talking low, saying something I couldn't hear, but whatever it was, it made her laugh again. I froze. I stood there, outside the room, just listening to the way she let herself be with someone else, listening to the sound of my own heart breaking in real time. Then I opened the door. I don't even know what I expected, maybe to catch them in some dramatic, undeniable position, maybe to have a clear image that I could hold on to justify the pain I already felt. But what I saw was quieter than that, more painful. They were sitting on the couch, close, her legs were pulled up beside her. His arm rested behind her on the cushion. They looked comfortable, familiar, like this wasn't the first time, like they'd done this before. Many times she saw me first. Her smile dropped instantly, her body stiffened, and in that second, everything inside me went cold. Brandon turned his head and saw me too. He didn't look scared, just awkward, like he'd been caught sneaking a second piece of cake. Not another man's girlfriend. No one said anything for a few seconds. The silence was unbearable. I finally spoke. "So this is it, huh?" She opened her mouth to say something, but I kept going. "You've been lying to me for how long? How many nights did you pretend to fall asleep next to me only to sneak back out here when I closed my eyes?" Her voice was small. "It's not what it looks like." I laughed, not because anything was funny, because that line is the last thing people say when it's exactly what it looks like. "I let you stay here because I thought you needed me. I thought we were building something." And you were just setting up a new life right in front of me. She stood up, reached toward me like I was supposed to understand. Wait, just let me explain. No, I said. You've had weeks to explain. You just didn't think I mattered enough to tell the truth. Brandon stood too. I looked at him. Man, I don't even know what to say, he muttered. I shook my head. You don't need to say anything. You already said it all the second you walked into my place like it was yours. I looked around the room, at the space I once called home, at the pillows we picked out together, the photos that still hung on the wall, and suddenly it all felt like a lie. You could have left, I told her. You could have told me the truth, moved out, moved on. But instead, you stayed. You used me, you made me the fool, and you didn't even flinch while doing it. She looked like she wanted to cry, but I didn't care anymore. I turned to walk away, and she said one last thing. I didn't mean to hurt you. I stopped just for a second. That's the problem, I said. You didn't even think about me. That's worse. Then I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I didn't give her or him any more of my energy. Because I already knew. The moment I opened that door, I found the truth I was too afraid to face. And now that I had it, there was no going back. People think the hardest part is the confrontation, but it's not. The hardest part is what comes after when you realize the fight's over, the truth's been spoken, and there's absolutely nothing left to say that night. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't ask for explanations. I just walked out quietly, without drama, without a word, and honestly that silence, it said more than anything I could have screamed. I walked for hours. No destination, just streetlights, and my own thoughts. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was numb, empty, like someone had scooped out everything inside me and left me walking around in a shell I didn't recognize. The thing is, I had imagined us making it through tough stuff, real stuff, bills, jobs, family drama, all the normal stress, but I never imagined this. Never imagined the person I trusted the most would turn my apartment house space into a playground for someone else, and then laugh like I didn't even matter. She probably thought I'd yell. She probably expected some kind of dramatic breakdown. Maybe that would have been easier for her. At least then she could have pointed the finger. See, he was crazy. He overreacted. He was insecure. But I didn't give her that. I gave her silence. I stayed at my buddy's place that night. He didn't ask questions, just handed me a blanket and said, whatever happened, you didn't deserve it. And I held on to that line like a lifeline because, for weeks I'd been second-guessing myself, wondering if I was being too sensitive, too controlling, too jealous. But when you're with someone who constantly invalidates how you feel, you start to lose your grip on reality. You start to believe maybe you are the problem. Maybe you do need to just chill, smile more, ask less, but not anymore. That night, everything clicked, and I saw it for what it was. She didn't love me, at least, not the version of me that needed boundaries. She loved the version of me that didn't ask questions. The one who gave her space, paid the rent, let her friends come and go without limits. She loved the idea of me, not the reality, and I finally stopped pretending I couldn't see it. I didn't go back the next morning. I let her sit in the silence I left behind. She texted once, just one message. You really just walked away like that? I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? Yes, I did, because staying would have meant accepting less than I deserved, because every second in that apartment with you and him felt like I was slowly erasing myself just to keep the peace. She didn't text again after that, and part of me thinks she didn't expect me to leave. Not really. I think she thought I'd always stay. That no matter what, I'd be there, stable, reliable, the guy she could walk all over and still find standing in the same spot. But I wasn't that guy anymore. Something about seeing them together, it shattered the illusion, not just of who she was, but of who I had become while trying to keep her. I had lost myself, piece by piece. I stopped inviting friends over because she said they were too loud, started working longer hours because she complained about money. I gave up things I loved just to avoid another argument, and still I wasn't enough, so I walked, and I didn't look back. Over the next few days, I started sorting through the wreckage. I canceled our shared accounts, transferred the lease into my name, packed up her stuff and set it aside, told her she could come get it when I wasn't home. No arguments, no emotion, just facts dotted with every little task. I felt something return, something I hadn't felt in a long time. Control, clarity, strength, not the loud, aggressive kind, the quiet kind, the kind that comes from knowing you did the right thing, even if it hurt, especially because it hurt. I used to think love was about sacrifice, about giving more than you get sometimes, and that's true, to a point, but love isn't supposed to feel like surrender. It's not supposed to make you shrink just to fit into someone else's comfort. That night, I walked out without a word. I wasn't running away. I was choosing myself for the first time. In a long time, I stopped fighting to be seen by someone who never really looked at me, and as I closed the door behind me, I realized something. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. I thought the worst part was over when I walked out. But what I didn't realize was that some endings don't stay private. Some people don't let go quietly. About a week after I left, things started showing up online. At first it was a few cryptic posts on her Instagram story, a quote about being used and unappreciated, a selfie with a caption that said, "Healing looks good on me." I ignored it. Let her say whatever she wanted. I figured it was just her way of saving face. We all do that after a breakup, right? But then it got louder. She posted a full reel clips of herself laughing, dancing, talking about starting over and how some people only love you when you're easy to control. And I was like, okay, so that's how it's gonna be. Suddenly, I was the villain in a story I didn't even get to tell. She made it seem like I was this manipulative, possessive guy who didn't support her, didn't understand her, didn't let her breathe. People started messaging me, mutual friends, some confused, some accusing. One even said, "Damn, I didn't think you had it in you to treat someone like that." I didn't know what to say because I hadn't treated her like anything. I gave her everything, my space, my time, my trust. And when it all fell apart, I walked away quietly. I didn't expose her, I didn't call her out, I didn't post screenshots or throw shade, but she did. She made it public, and that hurt more than I expected. Not because I needed people to believe me, but because I thought at the very least, after everything, she'd respect the silence we shared, the life we built even if it broke. But no, she needed to spin it. She needed an audience. She needed to be the one who looked strong and untouchable. Behind the filters and the fake empowerment quotes, I could see it. She was hurting, not because she missed me, but because she lost control. She couldn't believe I left without begging, without fighting, without clinging. She expected me to come crawling back, but I didn't, so she went public. And the irony, the same guy she said was just a friend, the one who needed a couch and a kind heart, yet he was in her pictures now, smiling, holding her waist, tagging her in cute comments like they hadn't lied their way into each other's arms. I won't lie, it stung. Seeing her with him, watching them parade what started in secrecy like it was something to celebrate. But the pain didn't come from jealousy, it came from the realization that I was never in a relationship. I was just a phase she walked through on her way to someone else. One day, I got a call from a friend who hadn't seen any of it online. He just asked, "Hey, how are you holding up? You disappeared." And for the first time, I told someone everything, not to make her look bad, not to defend myself, just to finally speak. I told him how she moved in, saying it was temporary. How her friend became a regular guest. How she mocked me, disrespected me. How I heard her laugh about me like I was a joke she got tired of too fast. And how I opened that door and saw the truth with my own eyes. He was quiet for a while, then he said, "I had no idea. I wish you'd said something sooner." And I told him, yeah, I think I needed to say it out loud to remind myself it was real. Because when someone rewrites the story to make you the bad guy, you start to doubt yourself. You question everything, your words, your actions, your memory. But the truth, it always survives. Even when they hide it under captions and camera angles. Even when they perform for likes and comments. Even when the world claps for them and forgets about you. The truth doesn't need a spotlight. It just needs time. And over time, the people who mattered saw through it. Some reached out, apologized, others stayed silent. And I let them because I realized something. The real closure didn't come from her apology. It didn't come from setting the record straight. It came from walking away and not needing to explain myself to anyone. Let her go public. Let her turn it into content. That story doesn't belong to me anymore. What belongs to me is the peace I earned when I chose not to play her game. And that peace, it's louder than any reel she ever posted.